This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Only Friends podcast. And welcome back, Melissa.
She's back. There she is.
This is all it took. Just a world full of tea.
I know. You bring the tea, I'll be here. And I'm wearing the Landon's blanket today because I realized...
You know that's a Steeler blanket. Did you purposely turn that inside
go
out?
Bucks.
Yeah, go Bucks. Yeah. Different teams, same city.
Yeah. You know, tomato.
You turned that inside out on purpose?
Oh, no, I didn't. Is it actually... Well, so the reason I have this on because I wear sandals today and I no free feet. You know
no free feet. Right, exactly. You got to pay for that.
Jesus Christ.
You have a link? You have a link for people to go?
What's that thing? Wiki feet. That's what Nikki said. She said she'll make me a wiki feet.
Wiki feet.
This is...
wikifeet.com/poodog.
Actually, we should make one for Berkey.
I do have very attractive feet.
Okay, that's weird, though.
I don't
say
know
that about yourself.
Man. I saw the cheese grating going on at the...
cheese grating, and then we have a mug at the house of your ripped toenail.
Oh, yeah. The toenail's not doing me any services, but it grew back. It's healthy. It's been at least a year since it fell off last.
Okay, so you got a brand new nail.
Yeah, I got a brand new nail. It's sparkling clean. Life. Yeah, I think we're doing good. You know what is particularly nice about my feet? I don't grow hair on them.
That's weird. I do.
What the fuck?
I get them lasered, but yeah, I grow hair on my feet.
Wow.
On my toes.
Everybody has a little bit of hair.
You don't grow any hair on your feet?
I have like
You're
3
not a very hairy man, though.
No, I have like 3 hairs on my big toe. That's it.
Yeah, I have those too. And on my middle and my third
You're
toe and on the top of my foot.
So high tea.
It's crazy. Yeah, but remember I sent that thing when it's like the difference between your first finger and your ring finger. It's like if you have a shorter
you sent that, and then everyone posts the pictures where it's like that, and I'm like, I think that's just how the human anatomy is.
No.
Is there anybody that
Some
has
are way longer than others.
So mine is like mine's much shorter than my ring finger, which means that I was probably exposed to more testosterone in the
Interesting.
Yeah, mine are about the same size.
Like we're all just like looking at
everyone at home is like,
Oh my goodness. We have so much to talk about. We have a whole tea party.
Yes.
To discuss. Before we get into all these
Mad Hatter.
Before we get into all these wonderful conversations, we have 2 things to bring up. Number 1, there's a new episode of Poker Out Loud out.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 3, season 9. All of your favorites are going to be there. It's going to be myself, Ewan, Landon,
Espin,
the champ. He's there. Who else was on day 1? 2 other people.
Matt
I
Hunt.
think. Matt Hunt was there.
Yes,
That's right.
Of course. How could we forget Matt?
Matt Hunt? He'll be back on Wednesday to do a strat chat with Matt.
Yep.
We're going to have a lot to talk about now that Airball is a little deflated. And the second thing is something big happened this weekend for the old Buccos.
Bucks.
A lot of things happen for Buccos.
We're not talking about W's
we're talking about feel-good stories.
We're talking about feel-good stories. There's a real human moment. Melissa, even you're going to enjoy this one.
Yes.
Okay.
This man, is it Dave Maggi?
Drew
Maggi.
Dave
Okay.
Matthews.
Dave Matthews got called up.
Okay, good start. Okay, 13 years in the minor leagues.
Wow.
1,100 games in the minors.
Real grinder, okay?
Mm-hmm. Berkey would do it if he could.
Unsung hero.
I would 100% do it if I could. Literally just seems like he has no chance at the major league dream. He gets called up by the Pirates last week. Okay.
Oh. The best team in the league,
the second best team in the league right now.
Best in the National League.
Is it actually? You guys are doing well.
Mm-hmm.
You don't normally. I
No.
think, right?
Nope.
The Pirates are in first place and the Yankees are in last place. So we're in some sort of bizarro world that's going on.
Mars is in retrograde or some shit.
It's because they don't have Hideki Matsui anymore.
That's it.
That is true. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. So Maggi gets called up, which is already a big deal in and of itself. He's never had a major league plate appearance. Right? They're blowing out a team last week. I think it was the Dodgers.
It was the Dodgers. They
looks like an accountant.
Yeah,
he looks like he's fucking.
They were up 7-2.
He doesn't even look like a baseball player.
Well, but they were up 7-2, and we thought like, okay, well here's his shot. He's going to get in.
Yeah.
And then the old Dodgers come all the way back and doesn't get his shot.
Right. So the next day they're blowing the Dodgers out. He finally gets a plate appearance. He gets up there and he takes a real crack at one, rips one foul, strikes out. No big deal.
Oh.
They start him the next day.
Oh.
So now he gets his first major league start.
Oh.
Over.
Bad. That's bad.
That's bad. No hits. Still no major league
Right.
hits.
I mean,
So the
okay,
whole-
so I thought this was gonna be like an epic thing.
Oh,
Right.
Oh, don't you
But
don't
they
you
didn't
worry.
give up on him.
He gets sent down for assignment on Friday, but the Pirates get rained out. So now they have a doubleheader the following day, and they get to carry an extra 2 men on the roster. So they keep him up,
Squeaked in.
squeak him in for one more
All right.
game. They blow the Nationals out. So he gets to come in the 7th inning. Comes up, first major league hit.
Wow.
Gets a second at bat in the 9th, double,
Yes, and an RBI.
and an RBI.
I think he got the RBI on the first hit.
Yeah,
Maybe.
he did.
Yeah.
He did.
But isn't that like what he's supposed to do?
Well, I mean, the thing is like
It's just because he's like,
he has 6 career major league at bats.
Yeah. So like he was like in Double A. He wasn't even in Triple A, which is like the one step from the majors. He was in Double A. So he's not. Yeah, he's not
wait,
like.
so how did he get on the team?
So he's the reason he like. So
Seems
okay.
like a mistake.
Well, yeah, kind of. So Brian Reynolds, our outfielder.
Ryan Reynolds, Dave
Bri-
Matthews.
That's right. Brian Reynolds, newly contracted, extended. Brian Reynolds had I guess it was a death in the family, so he was on the bereavement list. So he had to attend the funeral or whatever. So you get to bring somebody up, and they just thought they found like an opportunity, like, hey, this guy's been here forever. He's paid his
loyal.
dues.
Yeah.
Right. Let's here's an opportunity. He's not going to be on the team very long. It's only going to be a couple days. And then it ended up.
So he's done.
Oh, he's done.
So he's done. Yeah, they sent him back.
Okay.
Well, that's
He's
the thing. They sent him back down, right?
Like his
And,
life has changed.
like he was gone. The most amazing thing about this whole thing is that he was gone, right? And he was never going to get his hit. I mean, he did get a couple of bats. It was like, wish you could have got him a hit. And then just from the heavens, the rain comes. And then the game gets rained out. If that game doesn't get rained out, he's just down to the minors, never to be seen again.
Right.
But instead, it got rained out, so they did the doubleheader,
Okay,
so they could
he only
keep him
had a
there.
small window to really like
Right,
shine,
exactly.
and he
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now
It's
he's
good for
gonna
him.
he's gonna
Now
retire.
he's gonna go back to accounting.
Right,
And,
he's gonna go-
you know.
He's
Be
going to
Jake at
retire
State Farm.
as a having a 333 average in the major leagues.
That's right. That's pretty
Pretty
good.
good.
Yeah.
Pretty damn
Mhm.
good.
Good for
Speaking
Dave
of
Matthews.
feel-good stories, WPT Florida is kicking off. The main event is getting down to day 3. I think they're down to
100.
like
106 coming
Okay.
into today.
Yeah,
They
I
play down
thought
to
they were lower.
16.
okay, yeah. But more importantly, an event came to a conclusion. The one and
one was
only
that?
jolly old St. Nicholas, Santa Claus,
Frickin'
out there
Santa
shipping
Claus.
events. My man, what the fuck is his name? Jerry? I don't know. I'm not gonna put any
Dave?
respect on
Dave, I think it's Dave.
He
David
looks like
Claus?
a fucking Dave. David Claus.
David Claus.
uh,
Mrs. Claus is not happy with him.
I
he-
mean, Santa is like wild when he's on his off season.
yeah, he's
What is
just
he
out.
doing?
He's out here causing ruckus and starting a convo. So, all jokes aside, one man entered the ladies' event not once, not twice, but thrice
Yeah.
times, and he unfortunately won it
Yeah.
for
Dumb.
not a ton of money.
I think the bounties probably helped that.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, when there's 2,100 real dollars dead in the middle,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and only the person against him can win it,
Right.
that definitely changes strategy a bit.
It's like having everyone else having a bounty hand except you.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
Everyone's just kind of playing crazier, probably.
Yeah, that's the way Bay 101 used to be. They would do the Shooting Stars event, and they would bring out 100 shooting stars. So every table would have one. And at first, it was a 10K bounty on their head. You would get a full
That's pretty
buy-in back.
nice.
Yeah. And every year it would like decrease. Like by the end, it was like a $2,500 bounty or something like that.
I thought
But
it was.
still,
I thought it was a
Give you like a
5K
Best
tournament.
Buy
It was a
gift
5K
card.
bounty.
towards the end, it was
Wasn't always a 5K buy-in.
no, it was a 10K for
Gotcha.
many years. So yeah, I imagine that the bounty probably hurt more than helped as far as getting him knocked out of the event. But what do you think about? I saw you were a little vocal on Twitter. What are your thoughts on a man winning a ladies event?
I just think he was allowed to enter the event. So that means that there's probably a better way to facilitate, the social goal of a ladies event. It's like, I don't know, I just feel like the way it is designed sort of incentivizes the asshole attention grabby types. Like, they know they're gonna be bothered by they're gonna bother a bunch of women and they're gonna get shamed for it, and they like that, they feed off that. So it kind of like gives them a way to do that, when in like, if you just want a social event, just hold like a cash game. You have a much more freedom over who's allowed to play and who isn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I see like a lot of people responded, and I see like, I'm not like I'm right and that's it. Like, I feel like I'm open to being wrong or to changing my opinion on it. I just think that like, it's sort of weird to get so angry at a man who was allowed to enter a tournament and win the tournament he was allowed to like buy into. And it's just like that, we should be mad at the way it's run instead of like, I don't know.
I mean, I think both can be true.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
both can be
he's
true.
obviously a dickhead.
He's the asshole for doing, like, he didn't have to do it, like, but there are rules in place that allow him to do it, so we should address that as well.
Right. Like, my whole thing is just that like, this social pressure thing isn't gonna deter people like that. They're gonna
There'll always
off
be
it.
some, he almost, like, his face is all over Twitter. We're talking about it right now,
Yeah.
and maybe that's what he
loves
wanted
that,
all
yeah.
in the end. Yeah.
Santa.
Yeah,
He's here
He's
for
Santa
mayhem.
Claus. Like, he doesn't get enough publicity in
Right, I
December.
know. Like, fucking Santa.
Guy.
Like, you have a whole goddamn month dedicated to
Talk
you.
about war on
and
Christmas.
you're so selfish. You have to make the ladies event about you too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people speaking out about it is important because it does draw attention. Like, yes, you're right. We're shining maybe the wrong light on the event itself and giving this guy a platform only
It's
further.
every ladies event that there's a man enters. Like, they become the center of attention.
No, you're 100% right.
Is this like really someone, like, usually there's a guy that enters like every time?
The WSOP had a guy. I mean, it ended up being like he was.
Well, they changed the rules where you have to pay $10,000.
Yeah,
right?
so he did.
And he did pay the $10,000.
Yeah, but I
which I
forget.
think nobody would have a problem with that.
No, because it's like you're not winning at a 10x markup.
Right.
But like, there's a there was like a reason why, I forget, and everyone was sort of okay with it.
He was
but
well.
people were
Everybody
still
wasn't.
mad. No, they
everyone
weren't.
wasn't
They
okay
were
with
not
it.
okay with it. But
course.
there was
Yeah,
like
of
a
course.
reason that
He was trying to
right?
say that he was doing it like on behalf. I can't remember. It was
he
like
was
on,
like going to donate
on behalf of his family or something like that. But like, yeah. Anyway,
There's other ways.
There's other ways. Yeah, just donate.
Right.
Just donate to the prize pool.
Anyway, like I think that like there is some positives of I guess like publicly speaking out on this type of stuff still, even though we are platforming this guy. First, it's like it does still draw attention to the fact that, like, you know, there was a well-run ladies event that got pretty good numbers in Florida, and these things are picking up steam, which is always great. And secondly, even though it's not going to deter somebody like Santa from entering, it is going to deter other people that just like think it's a funny meme.
Yeah.
Right. So like Landon tweeted something to the effect of overheard by Santa bro. Wouldn't it be funny if I identified it as a woman and won this event? And I think that, I mean, when push comes to shove, like, I think the cash game ideas are a great idea. And I think the tournaments scale better. Like, it's easier to just get 25 dedicated tournament tables to ladies only or whatever. But I think that the biggest issue, and we're going to see this more and more now that identity politics are becoming such a hot button issue, is that it's impossible for the operator to make these calls.
It's almost going to be an unenforceable. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the more we acknowledge gender fluidity and accept the fact that you know, there are plenty of non-binary people in this world. Now, like, what you present as isn't even really all that relevant. You know, we saw that there was like a bit of a falling out with I think it was a WSOP circuit event. It was running a ladies event, and maybe it was in Florida. I can't recall.
It's hard to take you serious.
That's fine.
Climbing you.
We're just, me and Chauncey are just having a good conversation here.
Like, where is he going? Where's the end point?
Shoulder
He's
guy.
gonna be on your head soon.
He
Shoulder
missed
guy.
me. But I think that their rule was that it was. I think their rule was it was based off of what your driver's license stated or whatever. which from an operational standpoint, it's like, what more can you do? Like, this is a very reasonable thing. But, you know, I understood the community pushback. Also, I believe it was Ariel who was the one that was being shut out, where it's like, okay, yeah, so like my state won't accept that I identify as a female.
I didn't even know that they really checked that.
I mean, somebody had like there,
because I thought that it was technically like allowed for men to enter. It was just.
I think that they also were doing the 10X thing.
Oh, okay.
If I recall.
Right.
Well, or maybe I'm making an assumption because it's WSOP.
I was under the impression that the reason they had to add the 10X thing was because of gender discrimination laws.
Yeah.
But how is it not how does the 10X buy-in not factor in, like, fall into that umbrella?
It's a good question.
You know?
I imagine it's very similar to like ladies' nights laws.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
So what they're actually doing, they're not charging $10X. Yeah, they're not actually charging 10X to the man. They're reducing it.
Right, it's a $10,000 buy-in.
Okay.
If you're a lady, you get a $9,000 discount.
Yeah, they're reducing it 90% for women.
Okay.
There's always some sort of like loophole.
It's like a silly, like, you just have to like find the loophole. But that's sort of what I mean. Like, I feel like there has to be a loophole or a way. Like, if it's a ladies' event, there should be some sort of barrier in place so that you can't just get these meme or Santa Claus dudes like, entering.
Well, I think that's kind of the biggest issue at hand, right? Is that we're both trying to be mindful to the disenfranchised groups that aren't being included in the space, which is non-males.
Yeah.
So let's just label it that. But at the same time, we're trying to be very inclusive because that group of quote unquote non-males doesn't just. It isn't just restricted to females. Yeah. Right. And that's where it becomes impossible from the operational side. So it's like, how do we actively go about growing such events like, these women's events that we just saw take place at WPT, if there isn't really an enforceable way outside of social pressure? Because social pressure, you're right, it's not going to work. There are just too many people who.
It fuels people like that.
Well, especially like it's a divisive topic, right? Identity politics. I shouldn't necessarily say identity politics because that's maybe being a little bit reductive. Like that's just more so like what you align with. But when it comes to the great gender debate of 2023, let's call it, there are just like a lot of people who are trying to take a stance. Especially we just saw this recently with trans athletes. Yeah. And how much was spoken out about if you're biologically born a certain way, you just shouldn't be able to compete in physical sports against the inferior. I'm gonna get shit for saying that.
Right.
Well,
it's just like we're talking about physicality, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's a strength.
Yeah, we're talking about sheer physicality. We're not talking about inferiority.
And that's sort of what makes it not a one-to-one comparison with poker, because there isn't that strength discrepancy.
I find it strange to see that, and I would love to know. Maybe I should talk to Shahadi about this sometime on or off the record, but it's very curious to me, and I don't know much about chess or the chess world. Why is it segregated?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I honestly feel like I don't know how it works in chess really, and I think there's like leagues, right? Or something.
Well, there's open events. I think it's very similar to like golf.
Oh, okay.
Where it's just like open tournaments and there's a ranking system of sorts.
Okay.
But if I'm not mistaken, like, and I'm sure this is just a byproduct of numbers. I'm sure that there are just many more men than women. But I believe that, like across the aggregate, the higher ELO scores tend to be male. And I imagine that's just a byproduct sheerly of number. Yeah. It's the only thing that makes sense, right? Because it's a mind sport. Clearly, there's no difference between your gender.
It's why the female all-time money list confused me. Like women's leaderboards confuse me. Poker, I don't really understand. I mean, I read some of the arguments for them, and it's sort of just like for visibility of like a minority group in poker. But in that case, like there should probably be a lot of other leaderboards, right? Women aren't the only minority.
That is kind of weird, right? It's like because I actually think that they're a good thing because they do shine a light on people who are otherwise like maybe kind of lost in the shuffle. Yeah. But imagine how crass it would be to have like an African American leaderboard or an Asian leaderboard.
That happened?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's
was
just
gonna
like,
say, we
it's
like
kind
the
of
big
like,
Asian
yeah.
American chip stacks in WSOP main event.
yeah, right. Like it just shows no tact, and it is very strange because we're so bad at being inclusive.
I know.
Like that's just really what it boils down to. Like we're so bad as a society as a whole of being inclusive that like when we see those that are a bit disenfranchised, our way of thinking that we can do a better job of bringing them in
is singling them out.
yes,
more.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
precisely.
Like, it's like, ooh, let's like. It separates. I don't like the separation. Like, it's not a different game for women or men. Same game. You know,
Right.
We're competing against each other.
Right.
It's not like we're competing in different. You know, it's like, I just don't really. For me, the leaderboard thing doesn't make. I don't get it. It seems antiquated to me.
It probably is.
I don't know.
But it just,
Last woman standing kind of stuff.
Yeah,
too.
like why are we
Right.
singled out? Like
Yeah.
I think it just
that part to me is very
it just
reductive.
leads. Yeah,
Right.
it feels infantilizing. Like it feels like, oh, like you don't get to be on the like.
Right.
We'll just give you your own little
Yeah, like you're never
participation
gonna
trophy.
win, so
Yeah.
you have the last woman
Right,
standing
right.
kind of thing.
So it's just to
Yeah.
me, it's
It is
I
a
don't
correction
know.
for the
Right.
sheer numbers, though.
Yeah.
Right? Because
It is true, right.
the fact of the matter is, if women only represent 2% of the community, it's almost impossible for one of them to just be the number one player in the
Yeah.
world.
Right.
And
It's
not
hard.
because they're not capable, but because there's just so
by
few.
numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just so few of them that like for that talent to
Statistically.
emerge
Yeah.
is so low.
Yeah, so that does make sense.
But yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing because it does generate these hot debates then of inclusion versus exclusion, and there's seems to be like nobody has it right. Even people who are like very progressive and liberal on the side of like, okay, like this is our center focus. We want to grow this particular group and try to make them feel more warm and welcome. And honestly, like in my experience from the outside looking in, it seems like ladies events are remarkably successful at this.
Yeah.
I've yet to speak to a woman that wasn't like, these events are so comfortable.
For sure. I feel like people sort of misunderstood what I was saying, that like I don't like ladies events, so they shouldn't exist. And just not the case at all. I love ladies events. I think they're super fun. There's always snacks. Everyone's nice. Everyone's apologizing every other second.
It's all tea all the time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of gossip. It's fun. I mean, it's really fun, but I just think like the format of a tournament, there's nothing inherently useful about a tournament structure for a ladies event, and it just makes it harder to create barriers against Santa Claus types that want to enter.
So I guess like that's the final question then. Like obviously it's a broken system, so to speak, in the sense that we can't keep out Santa.
Yeah.
And moving forward, it's only going to get worse because there's going to be a small collective on the women's side that, aren't going to be okay with a non-binary male wanting to enter. And then there's going to be a small collective on the male side that just wants to show the hypocrisy of it all.
Right.
And be Santa. Do we just accept it as it is? Because I do think that it's growing the game. I do think that largely speaking, it's welcoming women in. It's just we have these outlier scenarios that are shitty.
I think we can accept it, but I mean, I honestly feel like, I think because there's no right answer is why I felt so comfortable tweeting that, because like there is no right answer. It's just my opinion in that moment.
Yeah.
But I don't think we need to do away with them, but I would like to see like how instead maybe like a cash game type of event, like if it were to be able to become sort of a mainstay, how that would do instead.
I think pairing the two together is really
Literally,
a
you
great
took the words
idea.
out of my mouth.
Yeah,
I think
maybe
that's
both.
great because,
Yeah.
like, to speak to Berkey's point, the scalability, like, yeah, the cash game, it's a great idea, but like, are you going to get 1,000 women together for a cash game? It's very
Right,
difficult. Where
yeah.
the
We're getting a
WSOP,
tournament,
right,
yeah.
the ladies event always gets 1,000 plus.
Also, the fixed
women,
budget
which is awesome.
of MTTs is really critical for any beginners,
Yeah.
regardless of what
Right.
gender you
That's
are.
fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
no,
if
I
you
think-
did pair them together, now you have a lot of women maybe in town for this giant event, and then now have the cash game along with it, right?
Right. And I think that nobody like minds that if I mean, they mind, but like a man entering with 10x markup on himself is like,
I do think that
whatever.
that's
Money,
the best.
yeah.
I definitely think that's the best
At the end
solution.
of the day, we all want
I
the
think
money,
that's
right?
probably the best solution.
Yeah.
I think I just have an issue when it's like there's no barriers and then we're just like left to like self-police it. Like I
Right.
just know that's not going to work.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's like
There's always
I mean,
assholes out there.
Unfortunately,
like I
though-
just know that there's like at least 50% assholes in the world.
Yeah, no, it's very true. But
That's the thing. Just don't be an asshole. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
some
it's
people
gonna
are just
happen,
gonna
but
be
it's just
assholes. Like,
it's
we just have to accept
It's like,
that and try to work
I-
around it.
Right, but you're like, you know what? I identify as a woman, so I'm doing. But you don't. Like, okay, like if you do identify as a woman, then you can play. But you just don't do it just because you can. That's just being.
I
the
do,
dick.
I do think that
They're
that's kind of a
trying to prove a
narrative that gets thrown around too often by people who are seeming to be,
Trolling.
well, it seems like they're just like purposefully being obtuse.
Yes.
Right.
Whenever they make the argument that like trans athletes shouldn't be able to compete if they're going male to female,
Yeah.
implying that men will just then start to identify as female to win athletic endeavors.
Mhm.
Pretty improbable, right? Like it's pretty improbable. And I think that there's a simple,
there are
I mean, I
guys
don't know.
out there that
yeah,
might
but there's
do
a
that.
simple
Right.
solution to
Yes.
it. Like you could just set. It's just like any other athletic endeavor, right? They have baselines of what is a normal, call it testosterone level.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're a trans athlete and you want to compete at the female level, then you just have to be below a certain
Okay.
marker, right?
Yeah.
That just seems like a reasonable,
That seems
equitable
that's actually,
solution.
that's the most reasonable solution I've heard
yeah.
personally.
I mean, we are so rich with data
Yeah.
at this day and age, and we have so many technological advances that like finding solutions that are equitable to all parties and just lean on something that is measurable or tangible is always going to be the best way. And unfortunately in poker, like it's hard to do that in a lot of areas,
Yeah.
right? We do have to like self-police a lot, especially from an etiquette standpoint.
Yeah.
There's so much on the etiquette front that you just can't expect the operators to like rule with an iron fist over. We've had this debate in the past, but it's like there are a lot of situations where men and women alike are very willing to compromise the environment and the comfortability that they're playing in for their bottom line.
Yeah.
The over the top bigoted drunk that's just saying
Like the
awful
worst
things.
human beings are going to be the best for the game. I mean, best for your
Always.
pockets. Like,
always, man. It's just like always. And if you're lucky, they'll challenge you to heads up for rolls.
yeah. I mean, it's probably why like stoicism is very plus EV.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think I need the Berkey mindset course on because I get very like times.
I got to tell you, it requires a lot of years of punching holes in the wall and rocking back and forth with your knees between your legs while you're crying in your closet. But like eventually, you get over the hump and you just realize
it's just numbing, isn't it?
honestly, jokes aside, like I think a big part of it is somewhere between your 20s and your 30s, you move away from this mindset that the world revolves around me.
Yeah.
And you start to see it from a bigger picture point of view of understanding that not only does the world not revolve around me, but a lot of what feels like personal is
Isn't.
generally just like a projection of somebody
Yeah.
else's insecurities or issues that they're having. And they're dealing with their own aspect of thinking the world revolves around them. And in a competitive game, it's hard to hold that mindset because the pots matter.
Yeah.
Right. So you already have an emotional reaction to the winning and the losing aspect. And it's very difficult to remove yourself from like, why does this always happen to me?
Yeah.
The better of a relationship you have with variance, though, the easier it becomes to understand like it's just a hand.
Yeah.
I wasn't chosen one way or the other, and we'll move forward from it.
Right.
It's hard, man, especially when you don't like the people you're playing with.
I know. I don't know how you're able to do that. Like
Silence is key.
silence and
I would
the
get
amount of money you're
baited.
gonna win.
I would get baited so bad. I know I would.
Go ahead, Guapo. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, as far as facilitating cash games, how do you keep guys from crashing that?
That's a good question.
I mean,
Casinos actually can pull this off because they offer private games.
right. That's what I was thinking. That was like sort of where my mind
Yeah.
was
you
going.
can
It's just
control the
more-
list. The
Yeah,
waiting
like,
list.
and it's like a loose list. Like someone
Yeah.
can show up and be added to the list.
Exactly.
But it's on the
Like it's less
room.
about who you say yes to and it's more about who you say no to.
yeah.
And as far
Uh,
as a legal standpoint, the casinos can't get any backlash from that?
No,
sort of
so they just charge. So like, if you and I want to go play heads up, we just pay $200 an hour, and we just go rent a table, and that's it. It's ours. We get to dictate who else plays. We get to dictate if we want anyone else to play, etc. So they can definitely work around it, and they don't have to charge the high fee, right? Like that's
Okay.
negotiable. If they want to run like a ladies cash game and say like, okay, all these tables are private, like let's say for the WPT one, for instance, I know Jamie was one of the organizers. It's like, okay, Jamie, it's on you. You're the organizer. You get to dictate who gets in these games and who doesn't. So you're kind of the gatekeeper of it all. It's a
Honestly,
big responsibility.
Knowing that someone like Jamie is the gatekeeper, I don't think Santa would even try.
Santa won't,
Right.
for
You
sure.
know?
Santa won't. She'll be put in some awkward spots whenever a guy shows up who, is basically like saying like, look, I don't identify as I present. And she's going to be in a weird spot where it's just like, okay, like I have to make a call.
Coin flip.
But it's also one of those things where
Pull out that random generator, random number generator.
yeah, but I
Roll
personally
99, you're in.
I mean, personally speaking, like I think that offering the benefit of the doubt in those situations until
Yeah.
proven otherwise is always worth a lot,
Yeah.
right? Because they're the ones putting themselves into an awkward social dynamic, and you could just like kind of test the waters. It's like, okay, look, totally fine. I respect your choice. We're gonna let you come in and play. Just be sure to be open and honest with the table about it, and carry on accordingly.
Yeah.
And I think that generally speaking, people of all walks of life can get along pretty well around this stupid card game because we all have kind of the same interest, which is the pot.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's a single driving force that everybody is kind of there to I guess like focus on.
You won a few pots this week.
I did win a few pots this weekend.
My God.
Um,
We're getting close, aren't we? That
yeah,
magical number, that 7-figure number.
yeah.
As the match stands now, I believe you are up 660,000.
So I came in
after-
up 309, and I won. I won
350? 350. I believe you won
359.
353 and you were up 306. So we're at 659
Okay,
as far as
I'll trust.
my math is correct.
I will trust the manager
Yeah.
on this one.
There might be 659
Plus or minus-
point something, but yeah.
Yeah, plus or minus 5K probably.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was an absolute bloodbath. It was the first time I'd seen Airball from weekend one, since weekend one. But man, he's
reverting back to his old self.
it's wild. I actually took my very first break in the entire match.
Wow.
I couldn't hold it anymore. We were 3 hours in.
Wow.
And
No
honestly,
breaks.
Okay, 3 hours in, he hadn't taken a
he
break.
had not taken a break 3 hours in.
Wow.
And honestly,
He
like,
must have been dehydrated.
yeah, I don't know if he ordered any green teas either. I was holding off for so long to take the break. I was like, I'm just going to wait him out because I had to piss so bad. But he was so tilted that I was like, I can't leave.
Yeah.
Like, I know how this ends. If I leave, he's going to take a 15-minute break and gather himself.
Yeah.
Go get high somewhere and like come back. And I was just like, I'm just going to keep waiting. And we got to the 3 hour mark and the new dealer sat and I was like, okay, he's going to go. And then he deals a hand and I'm like, fuck.
You gotta wear Depends.
I was like, all right.
He's like, Berkey has to wear diapers because he doesn't want his opponent to go off tilt.
I'm like, all right, enough's enough. Like, I can't hold it anymore. I got to go. So I go and I run to the bathroom. I take my 4-minute break. And I don't think Nick knows how the break system works. So what it is whoever initiates the break, both parties get that time. But the break ends at 4 minutes. And anybody who goes over that 4 minutes comes off of their allotted time. So
you each get 24 minutes?
Like a chess clock
Yeah.
for breaks.
yes, exactly. So the second I come back, I initiated the break, right? We both have a 4-minute window now. The second that I come back, my clock stops. And if he's not at the table, his clock now begins.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted an extended break. I assume he went and got high or whatever. But he sat at the table for my entire 4 minutes. And then as soon as I got back, he left for 10 minutes.
Well, that's not smart.
I'm like, bro, you could have a 15-minute break. What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Like, you do you. I guess it's fine. But yeah, he only took 2 breaks yesterday. Took 2 long ones. Pretty sure he's back on the cabbage, if you will.
Devil's lettuce.
The devil's lettuce.
Devil's lettuce.
I think he's out there trying to calm himself down. But yeah, yesterday went incredibly well. I got every single bluff through that I can remember. I think I got called once in a small pot.
That's nice.
Really, always a great session when all your bluffs get through. We'll discuss a lot of the hands on Wednesday, but There were a few notable ones where I was just like, this guy is on fucking monkey tilt right now. Showed up in a 3-bet pot where I 3-bet aces, bet flop, and then check called, or maybe I check called all 3 streets. I think I check called all 3 streets, and he just has 5-4 offsuit.
He didn't river the flush this time.
There was no flush to river, man. He had 5-4 red on 9-7-6. Yeah, he had 5-4 red.
Gutter, I guess.
Oh, he's open ended.
Maybe he was open ended.
Yeah, but it bricked out. He had 9-7-6.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah. All black, and he just went bet, and I think I went call. So that one was fun. There was another one where he showed up in a 4-bet pot. Was it a 4-bet pot? I don't know. But yeah, again, he just had like, a weird offsuit hand. He 3-bet more yesterday than the entire match combined. Like, he's definitely trying to gamble himself out of a hole, and I'm fucking here for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, he did say that that's what you were going to do. Usually what he says is about. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, there was a point where we were just trading fucking blows. Like, we were just going at it. He had 5-bet me a couple of times, and this hand comes up where I raised 7-6, or sorry, sorry. I raised 7-6 on the button. He 3-bets. I 4-bet, and then he 5-bets like pretty small. So I call, and the flop comes like 5-4 deuce, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is where it ends. I'm gonna hit a 3, and he's gonna have an ace, and it's just gonna fucking end today, because we were like 300k effective. He bets. I call. Turn is the 10 of hearts, bringing backdoor hearts. I have 7-6 spades. He bets again. I call, and the river's another 10, and he jams for like pot and a quarter, and I obviously fold, and he takes his hand and he goes, fuck you, Berkey, and he literally throws it in my face. Like, the cards hit me in the shoulder and fly off the table, and he has king 8 of hearts. So
the best hand
by far. So as the cards are like flicking off my shoulder off the table, I just very casually and calmly reach in the muck, pull out 7-6 high, and table it for him. And he goes, you fucking pussy, you never bluff. I go, check to me on the river, man. I would have been all in. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? He's jam the turn. I'm like, I'm not.
Then he would have folded and you would have windmilled in his face.
Yeah. I would have windmilled in his face too. Yeah.
It's nice to hear that you guys are talking now.
Those were the only words spoken. I windmilled like 4 bluffs in his face and didn't say a word. One of them,
that's so awkward.
One of them I just like slowly turned over. like he knew the bad news as soon as he folded, and I just like very casually tabled it. He was doing like some wild shit, man. He like led into me on king 8-3 rainbow, just like leads right into me as the pre-flop aggressor. I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? And then there was another one where he check called in a single raise pot, and there's like 2,500 in the pot, and he just bets 10k on the river, and ace jack makes the nuts, where it was like very clear that I could have ace jack, and at this point he just can't. So I had ace 9, and I just like 4x raised him. So he bets 4 times the pot. I had 4x that, and then he just casually folds, and I'm just like, nah.
Oh my god.
You fucking stink, guy.
Oh man.
So yeah, I saw that there was a little gathering of the minds after the session. It looks like they all got together with Joey for some drinks, some celebratory champagne.
What were they celebrating?
I mean, they had a few laughs. You know, they were just getting after it. You know, the Airball G crew.
Okay.
Team Airball, motherfucker. Team Airball, motherfucker. Oh man, so good.
Oh god.
Why was it repeating? That was terrifying.
Why wasn't it? That's the question.
That's so
also
good.
like nightmare blunt rotation.
Oh my god.
Those 3.
Could you imagine? I mean, I don't smoke, but like I don't want to be trapped in that fucking
time.
circle. No. Jesus Christ. Yeah, things are going well.
When they made that video, I think he forgot there was 80 more hours to play in the match.
It was his only win.
Right. I told you that's why he played so tight, right? Like for the last in a session, he wanted that moment because he's never going to get that moment
For
again.
sure.
Unlikely.
It was his World
Yes.
Series.
Right.
Funny.
You play again
I'm glad
today?
he got to have that.
Me too. I love that,
I
for,
love that
him.
for him.
Oh my God, I love that
I
for
love
you.
really
that. I
love
love
that
that
for him.
Where's
I
Landon
really
at?
love that for you.
You. You play
Oh.
again today, 4:00?
We do.
Nice.
Poor Lamanna, he didn't get the reference.
Oh, what?
You didn't get the I love that for him.
Yeah.
He thinks it's the Landon reference, which
Oh.
it is, but in this
Landon was-
instance,
I
we're
think-
memeing Lynn.
Oh, sorry.
She went when she was going through the coaching roster of Salt for a while. She'd be like, Andrew Brokis, 900,000.
Whoever the fuck that is. She didn't say that.
900,000 in earnings. I love that for him.
Oh, yeah.
Broke loser.
We play again tonight. Striking distance of the million. The real question now becomes what happens if and when we cross it.
Right. So the rules are
Do you think he'll quit at $1 million?
right. That's the rule. He can quit, but doesn't have to.
I honestly don't know. After the first weekend, I thought emphatically yes. Like I was just like, this guy's
really?
in way too deep. Like he wants out. Honestly, by the end of the third session on the first weekend, even though I was only up 30K, my read on him, like physically and emotionally and everything else, was like, this guy wants out bad. And then to no surprise, he got sick. Right. So like I wasn't shocked at that chain of events. Now, after hearing like how much he has on the side, like I don't know the exact number, but like he was open about it in Twitter Spaces that he seemed to be betting himself
like,
pretty hard.
From his words, that he has side action on himself.
Yes, he said in a Twitter space that he took himself at the price. So I don't know how much action that is, and I don't know. I don't know how big of a shovel he has to try to dig out.
That's what I'm saying. Talk about throwing good money after bad. Like you're down $1 million, and then the clock is running out, and you're going to be like, all right, I'm going to try to get this.
Well, so that's
get
kind
back
of the
on
thing.
the plus side. That's
I imagine the time
All
will
task.
matter, right? Like, say he gets stuck $1 million today, and we still have 40 hours left.
Yeah.
Maybe he keeps going.
you'll have 40 hours
But
after
maybe
today?
with like
A little less.
Oh, that's
maybe with
30
like
something.
15 hours left, and you're stuck $1 million. maybe
Yeah,
just
like at some
call it.
point,
Yeah.
at some point he has to just say like, okay, like I don't even know if I can get any of this back, let alone all of it. Winning the side action doesn't really seem. Yeah, I imagine there's just like a risk calculation there for him.
Yeah.
I also think there's a chance that like when he's stuck $1 million, he'll just say like, okay, I quit. Now let's play 501K.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which would be fine because I would have a bunch of new money
an extra $1 million
to take a bigger
Yeah.
bigger piece of myself at the higher stakes. But yeah, I think it went a little bit unnoticed when he went through that like tirade, that drunken tirade on Poker Go, calling me out like wanting to play bigger.
He's telling you to buy in more.
Yeah, and he wanted to play bigger, and Doug was like kind of goading me, saying like, "You have the best of it. Like you should definitely up the stakes." Yada yada. It's like obviously like that's
Fucking peanut gallery.
yeah. But obviously, like that's not really all that reasonable, especially at that point when I was only up 300.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, if we 2.5x the stakes, I'm not suddenly going to have more action on
Right.
myself. I mean, actually, that's a lie. I would, because I think I have a good understanding of like just how bad he is. Like even currently, I was probably still way too conservative how big of a piece I took. So like, yeah, like playing a new match at higher stakes, I would be a lot more aggressive. But the big thing is that like once this one ends,
I would for sure ask to buy a bigger piece
Yes,
than I
of
have
course.
now. So I'm all for
You got the
restarting
courtesy
match.
friend sweat.
Yeah.
But yeah, like as soon as this ends, like what I'm 100% positive of is no matter what happens moving forward, we'll never need another arbitrator again because I will never put a time frame on it.
Right.
Like I have no fucking interest whatsoever in doing X amount of hours moving forward. Like
Yeah.
if he's in town and he wants to play, we'll play. If he's not, then we won't.
Yeah, I
Because-
think that's probably the best.
Yeah, the scheduling was a fucking nightmare so far. Like him constantly trying to game the system in order to gain some sort of like less of a negative edge than what he possibly has. It's too much, man. It's just like, look, I get it. I see the spot now. I understand how blessed I am to be in it. And, the win rate is obviously astronomical. So I should probably be bending a little bit more than I
Yeah,
am.
I think you were like not so sure, and then like a couple matches in, like, oh.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize it was just going to be a battle of like who knows things about poker,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Are you making roughly $10,000 an hour?
currently? But I don't think that's
That's
sustainable.
not right. Of
Right,
course
right.
not. But that's currently what's happening right
But
now.
honestly, like,
Yeah.
5,000 an hour actually might be close to my true win rate here. I'm honestly not sure. Look, whatever. I don't want to bloat or boast all that much because, like, again, I'm just
Who knows?
not
I
good
mean,
at
it's
heads up.
It's
Right.
still heads up.
And
Like
it's-
there's
yeah.
still high variance.
I'm also just like not good. Like, I'm winning sheerly through what I believe to be my ability to exploit what I think he does badly.
Yeah, but that's
That's what poker is,
better
right?
than what most people are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But you know,
It's
as
good enough.
if he gets better, I get hurt a lot. And
Yeah.
So like this could swing still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
You know.
course.
Do you think Doug's still coaching him?
I don't know, man.
I feel like he's not.
I don't know. Like they both had choice words for one another at the table.
That's exactly why I say
there
that.
was
Yeah.
sort of like a bit of. It seemed like Doug maybe wanted to distance himself from.
Oh,
that
this guy
camp.
couldn't possibly take any more L's
Yeah.
than he has in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, what a change in sentiment.
That's one way to put it.
You know, like just public sentiment is really.
He
changed.
went 3 weeks ago when this all began, or I guess a month ago at this point. Every single day for a week, he had a dunk video that was out.
Right.
Most of them surrounding me, some
Mhm.
some
Yeah, he
surrounding
was in
others.
there.
But he was in the mix.
Yeah.
Like he was rejuvenating his channel. He was coming hard with the takedowns. By the end of that week, with the lead up to the first match, and by the time the first match had concluded, his entire online persona had turned into poker dad, like overnight.
Yeah.
Like immediately he starts shifting onto posting like scandal videos of Ruske and like like rehashing a bunch of stories from like 3 or 4 years ago. Like, hey guys, don't look at
Very generic poker
Yeah.
content.
a lot of walking back. Like, I'm not actually helping Airball. I just said, you know, if he wants to run some hand histories by me, I'll take a look.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know, a lot of like walking it back, a lot of distancing himself from the sinking ship that he hitched his wagon to. A lot of like, you know, not a great look. A lot of L's for the Upswing crew.
Yeah.
Ryan Fee hasn't tweeted in a month without getting absolutely bodied on Twitter.
I don't know what he has to have like a masochism case.
Honestly, it's
At this
just
point.
it's actually getting hilarious to the point where
Don't yuck his yum.
I'm not going to yuck his yum. You know what? Maybe he has a public humiliation kink.
He
and
might.
We're yucking his yum, and that's rude.
You might be right. It's so funny to me that like it got to a point yesterday where, so for like the last couple of weeks, he's been saying idiotic things about me, and you know I just reply. Honestly, what I'm doing is giving them a taste of their own medicine. I'm just replying like
You are
a troll,
Yeah.
and I'm basically
I
you know
think is probably the best way to,
it's fun. I will say it's fun.
because you don't have to get into their argument.
Yeah.
You can just
Who
be
wants
like,
to have an
"Haha,
intellectual debate
you're
on
lame."
Twitter?
And then it's
Right.
like
Yeah, it's like get
Haha,
those balls
eat a
out of your
dick.
mouth. Yeah, eat a dick. And so like that had gone really well. One I think I got like 1,000 likes to his like 20 or some shit like that. But yesterday he posted something in defense of Doug with regards to the Charlie Carroll Twitter Spaces debate, basically doubling and tripling down that, you know, Doug was absolutely right to make a video about this. That Charlie's tweet was completely out of left field and deserved to be criticized, et cetera, et cetera. And at that point, like, I just wanted to kind of test the waters to see just how easy it was and how unlikable he is to the general public. And I just replied and said, why must you show up daily for your ratio?
yeah.
And it immediately got a 10-to-1 ratio.
And people were replying with like, "Get Doug's balls out of your mouth."
Yeah, it got like screenshotted
Yeah,
a bunch.
I mean, it's sort of a weird strategy by him, I gotta say. I don't really know what his like aim, like his goal is with the whole social media presence.
Good sidekick.
But it is very unique to make your whole brand like kind of like
Go ahead.
sticking your tongue up another guy's ass. Which is fine. I'm not gonna yuck that yum for sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally support like guys licking
Tossing
other guys'
salads.
asses, and
Yeah.
it's fine.
For sure.
But it's just an interesting strategy
It-
because he kind of seems to just be walking into ratios left and right, and he has no real like personal brand his whole brand. I don't know. It's kind of weird to call it brand, but it is a brand.
Yeah,
his whole brand.
He's
is,
just under the upswing umbrella.
Well, his whole brand is Doug, so it's like sort of strange. I don't know. Like,
it's very HCL-y, right?
Yeah.
We see a lot of that out of that camp where it's kind of like the almighty figureheads of Ryan and Nick.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, propping that up at every turn anytime somebody shows some sort of criticism.
Your own stuff, like if you're constantly just like doing that, it becomes your whole thing, and then you're having random guys tell you to get balls out of your.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to balance it. That would be my feedback if I were his strategist.
Well, don't give him too much.
I won't let out the secrets.
We're enjoying ourselves. That does take us into the larger topic at hand, which was a lot of shit went down in these Twitter Spaces, man.
Twitter Spaces are the new thing.
They're pretty it. I'm not gonna lie.
And I think that poker has needed like sort of a town hall type vibe for a while.
Agree. So. I kind of think that was to some degree what we were hoping here, but it was never going to be a panel, right?
No.
It was always just going to be like,
and we don't really do call-ins.
Exactly. So like we were never going to get the outside voices. It was always just going to be like, let's bring up topics and discuss, and then hope that it generates a conversation either on Twitter or in the comment section or whatever, right? Yeah. But Spaces really accomplishes something next level.
It's like a meeting ground.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It is very town hall-ish.
Yeah. Right. Anybody can come in. Anybody can raise their hand. Right. Maybe not everybody's going to get to speak, but you at least have the chance to.
Yeah.
Right. Real PTA type of vibe.
Yeah.
A lot of Karens in there.
Exact same topics of conversation.
Right, 100%. It really is just the exact same, right? So I think the first instance of Spaces gone awry was the last time I had a 400K win over Airball, and did a little bit of a victory dance in Dankness's
that
space.
Was the love that for him today?
Yeah. Which obviously led to a lot of pushback from the Lynn side that eventually just kind of led to Deeb and maybe more so myself kind of poking holes in what I consider to be a pretty poorly formed argument.
Is it weird to argue with your ex in front of like hundreds of people?
Very uncomfortable.
I would say it can't be that can't be a normal thing. Yeah,
I would feel so weird doing that.
Very uncomfortable, but it's different when you're defending yourself, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I would never provoke that. I wouldn't even provoke it like subtly via a subtweet or something along those lines. I've never understood the people that have a falling out in a relationship of some sort, and then tweet some melancholy thing where it's clear who they're talking about. But
like a long platitude thing of like, and I'm just gonna work on myself.
Exactly.
Now.
Yeah. I can't do that. What was so strange was having to go on the defense for somebody that merely a week prior I would have considered someone close to me.
Well, it's very weird because the timeline of it, it's not like you had just broken up.
It's been
and
2
then,
years.
Like, you guys were like friendly for a while.
Yeah, very.
Like, so it's, and you like, she invited you on her podcast. Like, it's just weird. Like,
it was very strange. It caught me off guard, and I think that's what allowed it to happen, because otherwise it is very jarring. And if you're not taken aback and you're a little more critical, you're just like, okay, this isn't the time or the place.
Yeah. But
it kind of was the time or the place, because it was a big audience that was like listening to somebody like say pretty shitty things about me, which was also being reiterated from a week prior on Vertucci's podcast, and then the Airball G podcast or whatever, right?
Well, it was the Berkey smear campaign.
There was a solid week of it, and honestly, thanks to everybody who's been vocally on my side, and this will carry into the Charlie conversation, because like him, I can very much relate to the idea of being supported quietly in the shadows, and then being completely and utterly shit on and dragged publicly.
I can't even count how many times you've mentioned like, oh, this person DM'd me in support, but like they'll never tweet it.
Right, which is like, and it's always somebody who's like, their word really matters.
Somewhat like a big person in the community.
Yeah, like somebody who actually like could move the needle on public opinion. I think like after that week, especially after that Spaces, the narrative had greatly shifted, and it turned very, like from my perspective anyway, very differently, where people were vocally supporting me seemingly across the board. And the Poker Go game obviously helped that because it was just curated in a way where I was just meant to play the hero role. It's like, there's
no other.
Right. No matter how much Doug tried to separate himself from it, and no matter how much like everyone tried to say we're not in each other's camp, at the end of the day, it was cast as Doug, Lynn, Airball, and Person versus Berkey.
Right.
Right. Like, and Person didn't help that cause, saying like, let's all put a $25K bounty on his head, and Doug, yeah, let's do it.
Did they
that
end
type
up
of thing.
doing that?
No,
No.
I wish. I actually might have made some fucking money. But as that began to happen, it was very clear that the narrative was publicly shifting heavily in my favor and very much shifting against Doug. And if you look at his content, it's reflective of that.
Yeah.
There was a video he put out with Brad Owen where Brad was kind of memeing Doug for picking on me so much, or like for always, making me the center of his content. And then they kind of tried to do some self-deprecating stuff. I thought it was funny, but I don't necessarily know that it landed all that well with his audience. It's not like it's a highly viewed video. And it kind of like fell off. And now they're just moving into like, let's talk about hands, guys. Like, what else is going on? Hey, I run this card room. Like, don't look over here at this heads up match with this guy that I said's a fraud and doesn't know a thing about poker.
This whole
Like,
heads up match that I instigated.
right. Like, come back over here and, give me back my authority to be good at the thing that you believe I'm good at.
And it's honestly, I like his grandpa videos. Like, I like the non-controversial videos. I think they're good. I mean, Thomas is obviously like a stellar editor.
He's great.
But I just don't watch his videos because like it's hard for me to like support someone who could just turn on me so violently one day. Like, it's scary. So
and I think that's what was so important about this Twitter space that just happened. So I know for a lot of people this probably came across as a bunch of children having a cat fight in a public space, but to me that wasn't what was happening at all. To me, what I saw was an adult in Charlie who was very much hurt, both emotionally and in many other ways.
He was viscerally upset.
Yes, 100%, and justifiably so. So like even outside of like the emotional pain that he potentially went through from the whole incident of Doug making a video implying that Charlie's a pedophile, there's all the other aspects of it too. You're in the same community, you're in the same workplace, right? So this may have affected Charlie financially. It may have affected him, in a myriad of other ways. And there's some responsibility to take for that. Hearing Charlie come in kind of on the offensive, at first I was just kind of like, well, this is going to get interesting because there's plenty that I disagree with regards to like how Charlie handles himself on social media. Like, I do think that, he does a bit of engagement farming sometimes. I do think that he can tend to be a little bit contrarian just for the sake of being divisive. There's a lot of overlap that I see between, many of the camps that I don't necessarily agree with. But I will say that, like, he at least appears and comes off as, more so when I hear him speak than when I read his tweets, as a very thoughtful and mindful person. Somebody who puts more than 2 seconds into arriving at a conclusion and then digging his heels in.
He also, I think, is capable of empathy. I mean, that's like a big... Like, there are people in the world that just aren't capable of empathy.
I think that's important too to really acknowledge, not just the fact that like EQ is a characteristic that we all should relish and we should highlight the people that are much higher on that scale than lower, but also that there's a clear separation, though they may be a bit synonymous. There is a very clear divide between empathy and sympathy.
Yes.
Right. And being empathetic does not necessarily mean the same as being sympathetic, where you're basically, for lack of a better term, excusing something.
Well, the difference is like sympathy is more like, oh, you're over there and I feel sorry for you, whereas empathy is like, I feel you.
Yeah.
Like,
I can
imagine
understand what you're
feels
actually
like.
going through.
But sympathy is more, it actually has a bit of a distancing effect because it's like, oh, you're over there and I feel bad for you. But like,
the way it's always been described to me, or I guess like the description to me that I've always appreciated the most, is sympathy is equivalent to pity. And empathy is equivalent to kind of getting your hands dirty, getting into the muck and trying
putting
to better
yourself in there.
Yeah, trying to better understand something that you haven't quite experienced. So when he came in and he kind of challenged Doug and, you know, basically said like, look, I've given you millions of offers to hash this out in a public forum. Why haven't you accepted, while you're challenging Berkey to quote unquote remove himself from an echo chamber and join you in a heated debate? And Doug's response was just like, I don't think you're a real person.
I know.
And man, talk about taking the fucking bait. Like, from everything that happened thereafter, it's very clear Charlie has had this conversation in his head with himself.
He's been wanting to
hundreds
say
of
this
times.
forever. Like he was very articulate about it because he probably rehearsed it in his head 100% times.
He predicted every response, and like I don't know if he meant to bait him into that, but man, it didn't take much, because immediately Doug just says anybody who is utilizing their social media platform to promote or empathize with pedophilia is not somebody that I want to engage with. And like, that was it, man. The wheels are off. We're about to have a real tough convo. Not like a Will Jaffe tough convo.
Yeah.
Like, we're about to have a real world adult tough convo.
I thought that was really good.
Me too.
I thought it was like, you don't really get content like that that's so raw and
agreed.
Just actually like hashing shit out that has been simmering and everyone has been sort of aware of, like this dynamic, and just to have it hashed out live on air. It's wild. Because you could never plan that. You could never be like, hey, Berkey, come on with Doug and Charlie to talk about pedophilia.
You're just going to have political responses. Like, you just have to be diplomatic about it if you have any time to prep.
Yeah.
But on top of that, even though I don't think we reached any level of resolve, what to me was the biggest takeaway from all of this is that for many, many years, Doug has been portrayed as the standard of poker content, and more importantly, he's been looked to as a leader and as an intellect. Even Rob, whenever he was calling me, Doug, and Airball all clowns,
smart clown.
Yeah, he referred to Doug as the smart clown. I'm the nice clown, and Airball's just a clown, right? He's probably not far off, but like, we might be able to have a little more debate on this smart clown aspect.
Well, smart is also like, there are different kinds of intelligences. So I feel like everyone sort of has a meter of each type. And Doug might be really high in one section. And then
the smart
rest.
ass. He's a smart ass clown.
Well, maybe not even that. I just think that's not a dad joke. Maybe not even that, but it's just like, I think probably what Rob was referring to is that he's a very shrewd businessman who's smart about his tactics.
Yeah.
And we can all wholeheartedly agree with that.
Very calculated.
100%.
Sure.
But he hasn't been lately. That's the thing. As the wheels have fallen off and he's fallen out of the good graces of the people because bro humor isn't working for him anymore.
Well, he's had a reign on the mob for a while.
And I think the mob has just like gotten a little older, a little wiser, and a little more mature.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what the biggest takeaway from this discussion is that Doug is just absolutely not capable of good faith debate. Not in any capacity, because he was given multiple opportunities to, at a bare minimum, show some shred of humanness.
Dude, Ryan, you watched Real Housewives. Do you remember the episode where Luann calls Carol a pedophile? And then she texts her, hey, it's Luann. Sorry I called you a pedophile. But there's like a screenshot of that. And I'm like, that's all he had to do.
I think this was that might have been before.
All he had to say was, sorry I called you a pedophile.
Literally would have been just the absolute bare minimum. Like, don't get me wrong. I still think that he would have had a lot of things to answer for.
He doubled and tripled down on this stance, which was
when somebody who you can literally hear the hurt in their voice
I know.
opens up about.
My heart was breaking for him.
Yeah. Like, Charlie absolutely opened up about a very traumatic event that happened to him in his childhood.
It's the most traumatic thing that can happen to a person.
Right.
Like,
for sure as a child.
It's absolutely. Like, it's just like, you to even not be able to like step outside of your own paradigm for 1 second and just be like, that's horrendous. And like,
right.
I hear you. Even just saying I hear you would be like better than what happened.
Right. And I mean, it never got further than a yeah, but, right? So it's like, Charlie is basically being vulnerable in front of hundreds of people, now thousands, admitting one of the most awful things that can happen to a child, and saying that like to call me the embodiment of the thing that ruined me
Yeah.
is one of the most detrimental things that you could do to another human being. And Doug just responded with like sheer and utter coldness
Yeah.
of like, but you said that pedophiles
It's like he
deserve
really,
empathy.
well, I think that his first thing when he said you're not a real person,
it just stayed there.
yeah, that's the basis that he's working off of. Like
Yeah.
he can't see that as valid or like hear it. I don't even think he hears it. Like it's just noise to him.
Right.
Because he doesn't see that as a real human being.
Well, because he doubled and tripled down, right? So later, Charlie and him re-engaged, and he brought up the actual tweet, and Charlie said, "Yeah, I that's what I've been saying. I could have worded it better, but like, yes, I do believe this." And most clinical,
I mean, he went as far as saying it was a punt. He shouldn't have
Right,
tweeted
yeah,
that.
yeah,
He should
yeah.
have said
He
it
definitely
in
totally
on a
owned it, said,
platform where
yeah,
he can be
right.
more nuanced.
Right.
Like, and yeah, that's
and
true.
Doug's reply was, "I just think that you were farming for engagement, and that this was an extreme take that deserved to be dunked on." And it was like, I had no choice. Like, I was sitting by planning on not getting involved because I didn't want to make it about me, especially after Charlie admitted something like that. Like,
Yeah.
there's no.
You just give him his space to talk.
Not only that, but like there isn't really. And yeah, what about this kind of response? Because
Yeah.
it's like nothing that Doug has ever done to me is nearly that bad. Right. But the template's the same. And I just felt compelled to kind of step in and say, like, look, man, this is consistent with you and your brand across the board. And you can have whatever opinion it is that you want. But for you to just give no benefit of the doubt when somebody says something that you deem to be relatively extreme demonstrates that you absolutely act a certain way when you've decided that you have no respect for another person. And with Charlie, it's very clear that you don't respect him. You're
Like,
allowed
you don't
to.
even need to respect somebody to like see them as a human being.
Well, that's the thing with him. The second that there's no respect, you're a target, because that's what generates clicks.
Yeah.
It's why Daniel was a target for years. It's why Helmuth was a target for years. It's why Daniel's not a target now, because Daniel stepped up and played him in his arena. Imagine that that's the barometer for earning Doug Polk's respect.
Be really good at heads up no limit.
It has nothing to do with Daniel as the person, and nothing to do with his integrity, his character, his 25 years in the industry prior. None of that mattered. He was worthy of being absolutely
Just have to pay
eviscerated.
Doug $1 million,
But-
and he will respect you.
Right. But once he was willing to step up to high stakes, no limit heads up and accept the challenge of playing somebody who's 10x his skill set,
Uh-huh.
Doug says, I respect that, man. I won't dunk on you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for you as a competitor. It's like,
He also
what a
had to sit
fucking
in front
joke.
of him because they did that first part live.
Yeah. And again, brought the same energy that you would expect. Like, I just think that, like, ultimately, whenever we were debating whether or not it would be good for him and I to do a first take like show, I kept saying, like, I can't get over the fact that, like, Doug has no respect for me and the things I've accomplished in this industry, but says he has respect for me as
He thinks
as
you're
a person.
fraud, but he wants to do a show with you.
Right. Well, because it's clicks. And I said in return, like, I respect him as a player, but I have no respect for him as a man.
Yeah.
And the fact that we disrespect each other on different levels means that we could never in a million years have a good faith discussion. And everybody watching is like, yeah, that's what's entertaining about it. It's like, you're all sick if you just want to watch two grown men have
Yes.
a
Well,
bad faith
That's
argument.
the crux of it is that the American audience is all sick. Yes.
Right. But like, good faith arguments are fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
Right.
If you've ever watched like Sam Harris debate Jordan Peterson about the existence of God, that's a fascinating conversation. Even if you like hard dislike or disagree with someone,
I
like,
mean,
I don't like Jordan Peterson.
Personally, I don't
Right.
think bad faith arguments are fun to listen to.
They're horrible.
They're very frustrating because it's just like you never get anywhere, and then like there's always some sort of immature tactic.
Right.
of,
At
like,
the end of it, you're just like, why did I waste my time?
yeah, and it's
doing
just like
this? And,
it's just
yeah.
frustrating because you want to make the person like have a good faith discussion,
Right.
Right.
and then they won't.
So much
it's
of the
just
energy is
annoying.
actually spent on trying to reframe the argument into something of good faith that you never really get points across.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was what I was trying to do in this instance with Doug and Charlie, where he kept pushing back, and I would give other for instances, like, okay, say a woman tweets something about abuse. Would you ever in a million years just dunk on that, assuming that she's never been abused? It's
Would
like,
you
of
call
course
her a
not.
pedophile?
Right. Right. Or would you, whatever.
To be fair, sorry,
good.
Did Doug actually call Charlie a pedophile?
He'll never directly call
Right,
anybody
he
anything.
said exactly.
He said he was a sympathizer to pedophiles.
No.
Okay,
He just
so-
implies it. On the Poker Go stream,
That's what I was just gonna bring up.
yeah, on the Poker Go stream, we were talking about something, and we were talking about kids or something like that, and then Charlie, and he goes, "Fascinating that we're going to go from Charlie Carroll to kids." Wink, wink.
Yeah,
okay.
and
Yeah,
then
see, that's
Rob
not-
was like,
yeah.
"What do you
Yeah,
mean?"
that's not
and
cool.
he was like, "Well, like."
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. He'll just always dance around it so that he doesn't get himself into any legal issue.
Yeah.
But the implication's very strong and obvious to anybody who's familiar with the back and forth.
It's a bully joke.
Right. Exactly.
It's a bully joke.
Exactly. Yeah, so like when it all was said and done, he didn't want to walk anything back. I offered him a final like branch where it was just like, do you think in any world you are wrong to stand by the fact that you trashed Charlie over this tweet? He just goes, no.
I mean, I feel like I would feel very, well, I guess it's just a different paradigm. I just think that's such a terrible experience for Charlie to go through, no matter what you think of him or what your opinion of him is. It's just like to have gone through that as a child and then to be accused of it on such a large platform on no basis. Like we really made a big leap to call him a pedophile from that,
Right.
to be honest.
Of course.
And I mean, I just can't imagine that must have been like so damaging to his mental well-being for quite a long time. And I'm sure this was
For sure.
probably very like cathartic
Had to be.
for him. But
Yeah, it had to be.
I mean, I don't know. It's just fucking terrible.
It is. It's honestly awful. But I think that the small win that Charlie and the community at large can have is that what becomes clear in Doug being unwilling to engage in a good faith argument is that Doug isn't interested in the truth ever. He's interested in pushing his narrative. He's interested in creating his content in a meaningful way to himself that will accomplish what it is that he's trying to accomplish. Even Fee was on that space at one point. Basically, and Dankness was trying to make him understand how awful it was that Doug put out that hit piece video for me or against me or whatever.
He was trying to make the argument that it was a gift to you.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I'm sure you guys were like, oh, what can we do to gift Berkey?
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That was their end goal, was
Yeah.
just to drive
I'm sure that
eyes
was
to
the
solve for why.
intention.
Right. And Will was just basically like, no, like clearly the video was made as a hit piece. The whole point was to suppress Berkey as a respectable member of the community and make him look like a complete fool. And Fee was just like, you guys just don't get it, man. Like you're not opting in. It's like, yeah, no one opted in, man. And he's
no one
like,
wants this.
he's like, it's all, he's basically like, it's all the work. All you have to do is then clap back. And then it just becomes this like rivalry and drives eyeballs to
It
both.
just bothers me the implication that they did it as some sort of gift to you.
Right, of
Like
course.
that was obviously not the intention. And even if it ended up being that way, that was your own doing. Like they didn't help with that. Like
Right.
they wanted to bury you.
There's no
And they
part,
did for a little bit.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. There's no part of either Fee or Doug, and maybe not even like of Lynn or Airball either, whenever you're talking about people who are adjacent to this. There's no part of them that sees it through any other lens other than this is the fastest path to growth. Like I kept basically saying like, if this is a gift, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather just grow organically myself.
Like, hey, here's a fucking
Slower.
bag of shit.
Yeah.
But it has a candle on it. So
Right. And he's like, I actually genuinely believe you that like you don't want to do things that are compromising for money, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I just think it's fucking stupid.
yeah, he basically was just calling you dumb for not being completely bottom line driven.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, like there are people in this world who are like that, and that's fine. But like
It
not
is-
everyone needs to be that way, and if everyone was that way, the world would be dystopia.
It is fine, but where the line, in my opinion, is drawn is it's not about the being bottom line driven. Like we all should be trying to be successful at what it is that we do, and money is the way that we keep score. So like being able to run up your riches is worth something. It's when you compromise your character or your morals in the process.
Yeah.
And like that's an afterthought seemingly for everyone involved. Like it's not even a consideration.
Well, I don't think that you have to have character and morals in order to compromise it.
Fair.
You know?
Fair. Yeah. I mean,
So
like if
you don't have any, you're unbound. Like it's free. You just get to do whatever you
That's
want,
true.
step on whoever you want, and you don't feel any guilt or any conscience about it because you don't have empathy and you don't have a conscience.
Yeah, it
so
is
you don't
funny
care.
in these moments. He how honest he is, right? Like he is very honest about that. I'm doing this just for the money,
Right.
or like, you see a world where you could ever be wrong? No, like he's just like it's wild to me that I don't even think he
What's worked
realizes.
for him.
Right? Yeah.
but that's why I'm saying like it's crazy to see him so uncalculated.
Mm-hmm.
Like the
I think
last
he's
few
off his
weeks.
game.
Yeah, the last few weeks between
Right, he's way out of his comfort zone. He doesn't have an editor behind him. He controls everything on his YouTube channels. When he's
and you think
in
in
the
the spaces,
space,
that's
right?
like-
When you're in the spaces, you're just out there on an island on
That's
your own. You
true.
have to, you have to.
It's hard
you
to
have
spin in the
right. It's hard to
spaces.
spin. Right, of course. You don't
You don't
have.
have funny Thomas adding
Nope.
in funny memes.
Exactly.
his
Right,
tweets too.
right.
If you go look at his timeline over the last couple of weeks, assuming he didn't delete anything, like his tweets are like very tone deaf to the criticism that he's taking on.
Yeah. Well, he came when I did a spaces after the high stakes poker. He came in and just was expressing how he was like upset that there was a lot of backlash. He sounded very distraught and upset. I'm not gonna lie. He sounded not in good spirits after reading the comments.
I'm just holding in laughter because of what you actually said.
I know. But I wish we could screenshot me and Landon's back and forth. Or just like, bro was crying. Bro was distraught. Bro had tears. But no, like in all seriousness, like he was very upset at the feedback. And I just kind of said like, well, it wouldn't be as talked about if there wasn't negative feedback too. Like if you only distilled down the positive comments, this
Right.
wouldn't be a popular stream.
Yeah.
So you have to you can't just expect, what are we doing here? He's been content much longer than I have. I would think that like that would be kind of, but I guess he's just used to a very loyal, doting fan base.
Yeah. I mean, it is until it isn't. And I hope that this is the changing of the guard. I hope that this is where things kind of shift, because I think there are a lot of good people in this community that deserve a spotlight that he's kind of been hogging for far too long. And it makes me kind of wonder, like, not that they have any responsibility to any of this, but like, he accused me of being in an echo chamber and like himself wanting to promote one where he's challenged. But
Yeah.
I don't see that at all.
I mean, his whole point was like that you have a podcast that everyone is like yes manning and agreeing with you, and that you just want to like talk and. Well, I mean, I've said that to you sometimes,
Sure.
but it's like,
I mean,
but it's like, it's a different. You're not trying to host a debate show,
right.
That's the whole thing. Like this is modeled off of Pat McAfee,
Yeah.
where they just shoot the shit. It's the water cooler. And people like to listen to it because it's easy listening. They like to listen to it on their drives. It's a different type of content than this hot debate, hot take.
That's the thing. It's not like we're
Warring
bringing up a bunch of
against-
controversial topics. Like, what are we going to disagree on? Whether or not the Pirates are going to be good? Like, yeah,
Right.
Conrad and I fight all the time about the Jets and the Steelers, but like,
It's fun. It's fun
Right.
disagreements.
it's like, how much depth is there to these
Right,
conversations?
right. If we got into some like deep political stuff or something, there would be arguments. Yeah,
someone
there would be.
cry.
Right, of course,
Someone
because
would cry.
people have different stances.
no
but that's
one,
not what
no
we're
one
doing
from my
here.
point of view wants
Right.
that.
No.
Like, nobody wants us to sit here and hash out our
It's
political
also not
beliefs.
sustainable. It's not a
That was-
sustainable podcast model because you're gonna end up hating each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what's the podcast? There's no podcast anymore.
Right. Yeah.
From my point of view, one of the big reasons why this dynamic was desirable to me and I thought achievable is because, one, I like everybody involved, and I assume that that's mutual. And two,
You're all right. You're all right, Burke. You're all right.
I think like one of the most important aspects to developing any sort of like long-lasting relationship is conflict resolution. So it's like, can we all find ways to disagree with one another and still remain respectful without there being so much tension in the air
Yeah.
that somebody wants to storm off the set?
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe it looks like it's an echo chamber and that everybody's yes manning me, because when we disagree, we find ways to do so in a pretty amicable way.
Yeah, and there's also like a lot that gets fleshed out, I think, beforehand, or like
Yeah, that's why we have that 5-minute countdown.
We are all
right.
always talking to each other,
Right.
So it's like the things that we talk about on air, we've already probably talked about
Yeah.
before.
Right,
So
yeah.
it's kind of like we've gotten the initial maybe fire of disagreement out, but there really isn't. We just don't really like hate each other enough to fight all the time.
And also just like look at the topics of conversation. Like what are you gonna have Lamanna do? Like clap back and say, nah, man, Airball's got a shot in this thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he does. Right, exactly.
It's like
no, man, I don't think there should be any security in streams.
some of the most watched
Games should just be a free for all.
Some of the most watched streams that we had were during the HCL scandal.
Yeah.
And Christian was absolutely against my side the entire time. And like it was fine.
I've disagreed with you on air a lot. I said you had an eating disorder. That's like so rude.
It's just mean.
Like he should just watch that episode. Watch the eating because
Right,
Brutus and I were both.
Yeah, we were kind of on the same page.
We were both against you when we were calling you eating disorder.
I can't help that you two are gluttons. By the way,
it's a control issue. It's
I thought you were fucking cutting. I come home to.
I'm not cutting anymore.
Yeah,
that lasted like 2 days.
Less. It's fucking Crumble was there within
fast,
minutes.
Okay, I started to see a little muscle definition. I was like, all right, back on the bulk.
Just order Crumble. The only person bulking in the house is Rudy.
Oh my god, my dog. He really is a demon.
Yes, he is.
Demon Gate is true. Like
I know.
He steals anything. He keeps taking those beef jerky packets out of my garbage again.
What's left?
Nothing, but he keeps licking them. He
ate all of Landon's birthday cake, aka pork butt.
Oh yeah, he ate like what is that? Like 4 pounds of pork.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
He had to have eaten like 10,000 pounds, 10,000 calories of meat in like 2 days.
And then he took 10 packs of your beef jerky.
Yeah.
Took them all up to my room.
Yeah. How did he get them all up there individually?
He took the package to my room and opened it in there.
Genius.
He knows that there's something.
He also
good in
ate
there.
the leftover Crumble cookies, which I was thankful for, but I was really mad when I got home.
He's been like really ravenous. I should maybe take him to the vet or something. Like, is something
Matt,
going
what
on
was
with
that
him?
almond milk you guys were going back and forth about? I remember you and Melissa were talking about some milk.
Oatly.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it had sugar or it didn't have
It
sugar.
has
No.
palm oil.
Yeah, I was saying it wasn't, or I was saying it was processed. I think
It's not healthy. It's not a health food.
Yeah,
but I like it, and regular milk gives me diarrhea.
I also not to get this debate started again, but like I'm very confused at the idea of milking an oat.
What do you mean? You don't know how it works?
No,
You
it sounds
blend
like
the oats
and then
you
add
strain
water.
it. Yeah, it's just water and oats blended.
That doesn't sound anything like milk to me.
But it
That just
looks
sounds like
milk.
oat water.
Milk
Well,
is
it's the same
just
thing with like
opaque.
almonds, right? You
Yeah.
press it and then you get.
And you soak
juice,
them,
yeah.
you press it, you blend it up. It's all the same. Nut milks. Milk is just an opaque white.
With the almonds,
Right,
but with the almonds, you're actually getting the almonds. With the oats, you're not.
Yeah, you are.
You're getting the oats
not getting the
runoff.
almonds. What piece of almond are you eating?
They crush them up, or they blend them up.
Yeah, but
For what
it's the
worth,
runoff.
Oat milk tastes much better than almond milk.
Yes.
Yeah, coconut milk
And
is the
it's
best, so we
thicker.
can all agree with that,
Coconut
right?
milk is really good, but it's not good with everything. Like, there are certain things, I don't know. I'll make some mac and cheese with oat milk sometimes.
Okay, yeah, mac and cheese with
You don't want
coconut milk would be a
coconut milk in
little.
there.
You're right.
But coconut
You're right.
milk's really good. Like, I've recently switched to a coconut almond or coconut oat blend.
Okay.
Like
I'll
a
have to
half
try
and half.
coconut. I don't think I've ever had it. I don't
It's good,
remember-
but
I
when
don't
you drink
recall.
it, you expect it to be sweet because it's coconut and it's not. So it's a little jarring
Yeah.
to like drink it.
Michelle's on the oat milk train because she's like you with regular milk and
Diarrhea.
probably it's not a good
Does
situation.
Michelle fart around you?
No comment.
Oh, yes. I'm just wondering because I know we've had this
She has.
conversation
I
so
mean,
many
we've-
times on this podcast.
obviously we've
but,
lived together for 8 years. Like,
well, yeah, I know, but
or
there's
7
some
years.
couples that won't, for years and
Never.
years that it'll maybe slip out, but they
yeah,
make it
it's
a
little-
point to
that's a
not.
little ridiculous.
Yeah, like just
I'm
don't
actually
don't acknowledge it.
I am kind of jumping on that. I'm actually jumping on that train to just update the loyal podcast listeners who were very, enriched by my dating life and my romantic gestures and tendencies. I think I've changed, and
Okay.
I think I am team no fart, don't talk about gross stuff, because I talk about that with everybody.
Right.
So there has to be
You need some
one
intimacy.
person in
Yeah.
the world that I don't talk about that stuff with, and that I'm just a prim, proper lady with.
I agree.
And that keeps a bit of the mystery and the.
We're fun. Look at us.
Look at
us.
that. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought would get here?
But yeah,
Goddamn echo chamber is what it is.
I'm actually on team that. I love gross humor and gross shit, but I think there's something to keeping the magic alive.
I'm gonna tell an anonymous story. Go ahead, man.
No, I agree with that. Like you shouldn't be just telling like shit jokes.
You know, I'm not gonna be shitting open doors.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna tell an anonymous story on the way out of here. I was dating someone, and I woke up the next morning, and she was like horrified. I couldn't figure out why, and like we didn't text for like a couple of days. And I was just like, what happened? Like, I thought we were good, you know? And then eventually she just messages me and goes, I know you heard me fart in my sleep. And I go, what? And she's like, I know you heard me fart in my sleep. It woke me up. Like, there's no way you didn't hear it.
To me, yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she's like, oh my God, I've been so embarrassed for days. I don't want to talk to you because I was positive you heard me fart in my sleep.
Oh my God. She probably thought you were like done with her because she farted.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was just like, no, if you hadn't acknowledged it, would still be fine. But
yeah,
here we
I've
are.
done that. I mean, it's hard when you're sleeping.
Sure, of course. Big shout out to Chin, who hit us with a super chat. He said, Charlie, I'm so sorry all this happened to you. Listened to the tape and felt the pain in your voice. Brave of you to step up in front of hundreds of people and voice all your negative experiences. I know you wanted more public support, so here you go. We appreciate that, Chin.
Yeah, thanks, Chin.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I got the Airball match again tonight. We're going to be playing from 4 p.m. until, 6 hours? 10:30 p.m. Pacific. So if anybody's around the Resorts World area, feel free to stop by, say hi, come on in the room and hang out. He'll appreciate it. We're going to try to get to a mill ball today. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave some comments below. Let us know what you thought about this debate. Say hello to Melissa. She's been back now that we're on the Skeleton Crew. We'll be back tomorrow, I believe noon. I got to clear it with Brent, but I think Brent and maybe Platt will be joining us again. And then, of course, on Wednesday, we will have Strat Chat with Matt, where we'll cover all of these fun hands.
Strat Chat with Matts.
I see what you did there.
Chats with Matts.
Strat Chats with Matts.
All the fun hands from this past weekend, where hopefully we have 1 million to be celebrating. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you then.
Peace.